G'day viewers, we're out in the desert on Cajon Pass, and this is a High Iron Simulations Santa Fe Warbonnet C40-8W. Alright, let's go and get on and see how to set this beast up and drive. Let's climb aboard, up the back ladder, and we'll come along here and make our way up the steps at a snail's pace, but that's okay. The steps are a bit weird, but you know, everybody gets used to it. Alright, let's sit in the chair and take possession of the locomotive and do the most important thing. Open the window. Right. Next most important thing is make sure our headlight config is right. So we are short hood leading. Let's set that. And let's turn the alerter on. I've never actually heard the alerter go off, so I don't know if it actually works. Righto. Let's sit in the big chair. First thing I'm going to do is set the MU2A to lead and apply the independent brake so we don't roll away in the next bit. I'm now going to release the train brake and cut it in to freight. So you've got two positions, freight or passenger, but we're going to use freight. You can see the airflow indicator has pegged itself over there to the right. And it'll be a while before we are actually charging up the brake pipe. It is relatively prototypical, the charging on this one. Right, let's check our switches next up. So we'll crouch down here and make sure control is on, generator field is on, and engine is on. They all are. Might want to turn on our gauge lights while we're down here. And there is down here an independent brake valve, which should be open in. I've never found it not being open in, so that's fine. And let's jump into the big chair now. And we'll set our headlights. So we want to set those to bright auxiliary. Now what that should do is make the headlights flash when the horn blows. Let's see if it does. Yeah, perfect. Nup. Alright, there's bug number one. I think old mate might have just changed personality there, but that's okay. Alrighty, other exciting things. Banking comm to be turned on if you have locomotives in the rear, which in this service we do. There is a desk lamp here if you want it. There is a cab light if you desire it over here. We have got our wiper controls here, which is doing the one behind me, I think, if I have a look. Yep, it's doing that one. Very good. So let's turn that one off, and we'll turn this one on, and that'll do my wiper. If you want to turn the ones on the other side, the controls are over here. But of course you can rely on old mate, who's forever top-notch on the job, to get those things sorted for you. You do have two sun visors, which you can mount to your heart's desire. I think you should also be able to slide those over. You should also be able to twist this one so it goes up here, I'm pretty sure, but that doesn't support that in the game, but neither does the old CW40. Alright, so let's set our reverser now to forwards, and we can give it a couple of honks. It's got a decent horn at least. And we shall give it some notches. You can see we're starting to power on the right hand gauge there, and I will release the independent brake now that I've seen it starting to power, and we should start to move. Now like I said, the airflow meter indicator is pegged on the right there, which indicates we are still charging up the train, so it won't be a quick departure by any means. You'll notice in notch 1 it doesn't accelerate the engine, and not in the further notches it does. So we can notch right up to 8. If I did this in real life, we'd be ripping couplers off, but that's okay. You can see the airflow movement indicator is starting to drop down to the left, which means the train is charging up. We can kill our Beelzebub. The button is here, but I'll use my controlling device. You can see the airflow meter indicator is still dropping, so we are charging up the train quite handily. Now we are going down a gradient, so I'm actually going to notch down because I want to show you the dynamic brakes. We're actually going a little bit quick for dynamics, but that's okay. So we will wait in the idle position dutifully for 10 seconds. That's enough. And we'll pop it into the setup position here on the dynamic brake side of the range. And after we've given a little moment to set up, we will start applying some dynamic brake. We can hear the noise has started. It sounds kind of like a Hoover on steroids. So as we bring the dynamic brakes in, we are generating more and more power with the traction motors. It'll actually struggle to overcome the speed because we're going rather fast on a rather steep gradient. Starting to see some indications that it might be starting to overcome the speed, so there we go, we're dropping now. So we'll just keep notching up on the dynamics. Excuse my cough. Let's have a little bit of cough medicine. 12-year-old single malt cough medicine, in fact. Our dynamics are now coming down quite handily. We've got a lot of locomotives on this train, so I'm not that surprised that they're working pretty well. So now that they're doing their thing, we can probably come back down to about dynamic brake position 3, and we'll see if that holds us. 1.4% probably will. No, we're creeping up. You can see the speed increasing, so let's go to brake 4, see if that holds us. No, neither's that. Brake 5. How about 6 even? There we go. That seems to have arrested our speed increase. You can see the airflow meter is still not all the way to the left there, so it's still supplying a little bit of air into the train, still charging up reservoirs along the train. It does prototypically take quite a long time for that to happen. So I suppose the next thing to do is to show you how to actually stop this thing. You can kind of apply the train brake as long as you bail off the locomotives with dynamic brakes, but we won't go into that. So I am going to apply the train brake now, and we should see the dynamic brakes go back to 0. Should, anyway. I don't know if we're going to. Oh, we are. They're dropping off, are they? No, they've gone back on again. Well, okay. There they go. So the dynamic brakes are cutting out as we come to a stop. So we can bring this back to the idle position anyway, because you don't use both brake systems at the same time. You can only use one of them. Alright, was that all I had to show you with this? I think so. Well, maybe show you shutting it down, so we might show you that. So we'll put the brake through to handle off all the way, and then we will cut the brake out and set that the MU2A valve to trail. And from our switches over here, we're going to leave this thing parked, so we would turn off the gen field before we get out. Get back in the chair. And to our headlights as well. Because it's sitting on the main line, we'll leave those on dim rather than turning them off. And we will just pretend that we've gotten out and walked away at the end of our shift, and another crew's going to come and take over. Alrighty. That's about it for the 8W C40. She sounds nice. It's a pretty decent sort of horn. It's the locomotive sounds okay. It is the C40-8W from San Patch grade. It's the same one. Seems to have had a few modifications. It seems to behave a little bit differently than the other one. Most notably, the airflow meter indicator actually works, which it doesn't in the other one. I have not yet managed to have the alert of sound. Oh, actually, I know something I haven't showed you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back into freight and we will release the brakes, because this one's important, because I'm sure it'll happen to people. Oh, great. It's starting to rain in the desert. Fantastic. All right, let's get moving, even though it's still not released the brakes by a long way yet. Should have, though. That's interesting. I did cut that in, didn't I? Oh, I didn't do that one. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Oh, I better put the wipers on. Okay, so let's get her moving again. Let's kill this bell because it's not very exciting. Let's see what her wet textures look like, huh? She's quite grey in the wet. I don't mind that at all. It's quite pretty. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the emergency brake. Waka waka. Now that's that valve over there. So it's now stopping. The train's coming to a stand, so I will notch back down to idle. I am going to apply the brake into the suppression position. Going to get out of my chair and go over here and whack Curly on the head. Whack! And then I'm going to release the emergency brake. Sit back in my chair. And this bit's a bit weird. I'm going to cut the brakes out. And then I'm going to cut them back to freight. And I'm going to release them. So that we can get moving again. So the brakes are now releasing. Hopefully we can start powering. So let's give that a try. There we go. If you don't go into suppression and then release the emergency brake and cut the brakes out and then cut them back in again, you can't power. Now, I actually think that could be a bug. But you know how to do it now, so it's all good. Did it ever get dark or what? Look at that. Full storm. I can understand not much light actually getting onto the, not much rain getting onto the glass there because they've got a bit of a shield over the top of them, but that's okay. Eventually this thing will move. It'll take a little while because of course we released all the air out of the train, so we are charging it up at a large rate. So at some point in time it will take off again. It will be fine. But like I said, it can take quite a while. So you can see it's trying to go. Let's give it another notch. Let's just rip some couplers off. Why not? There we go. Perfect. Off goes our little unit number 860. So we'll just watch the war bonnet go into the lovely sunset. Actually, it's 6:55 in the morning, so I suppose it's a lovely sunrise in the storm. But that's it for this tutorial on the C40-8W in Santa Fe war bonnet. We'll be back in a moment, or I will be anyway, for a tutorial on the SD40-2. But if I were you, I wouldn't bother, because, well, you'll see.
We played a game.